GWS calls a giant upset down in Kilda Park.
Essendon give their finals chances a massive boost.
And St Kilda's season is somehow still alive. This is the DrewFooty Show.
Hey, long road, took a tumble down this black hole. Stuck in Sunday league, but I'm on levels.
Hello, you
with
folks. Welcome back to another episode of the DrewFooty Show. We're back again. Make sure you go follow DrewFooty_ on Instagram to be involved in next week's show. Jesse, only 51% of my audience are subscribed, and that is what we call piggery on the Drewzy channel. So
Cedric Piggery.
I'm trying to get to 5.5k by the end of this month. So if you can help out and you're enjoying the content, please drop a sub and like the video. Bloke of the Week this week, Jesse, and it's actually the third time a Port Adelaide player has been given Bloke of the Week, and it's been nominated by Asher Khan 69. So thank you for the nomination, and he's nominated Alir. He was man of the match, best on in the Showdown, and he's just always got a smile on his face when he plays Alir. Like, he's a genuinely happy, chappy bloke, and after the game he did an interview with Fox Footy, and I loved his energy. He was just stoked with the win, and he's just a good fella, Perth boy as well. I'm going to give it to Alir this week. You are the Bloke of the Week. On to the winners and losers of the week, and we're going to start off with the Friday night game where the Giants upset the Geelong Cats. It's the only time I can remember Geelong losing at Kilda Park since that Carlton loss last year.
Yep.
I think that's right. And both games didn't have any fans. Do you think that could have potentially played a factor?
It is interesting to ponder what is the effect of no crowd. Yes, I think they say the same thing in the Premier League. When the Premier League took away the home crowds, we started seeing weird, wacky results. And you have to think, the home crowd egging a team on makes a big difference. I think it certainly would be the case, in Perth with 60,000 and GMHBA. I think a lot of those fans are actually Geelong fans rather than a
opposition.
mix. I think it would have an effect, definitely.
GWS had 8 players out for this game, and they've obviously been locked out of their home state for a month and a half just about now. It's been real tough times for them. I'm not sure if this is correct. I've heard it from just word of mouth that they've been sharing physios and doctors. So like against Geelong, they shared physios and doctors and trainers and stuff like that. I don't know if they have like strength and conditioning coaches and stuff. I know Sydney didn't for a while there, and they've got a lot of injuries. They've had to have young players step up. One of those players was Sam Taylor, who was man of the match. Made national news just because of how good he played, Jesse. So many intercept marks. I think he had about 11 contested possessions as well, so he was probably best on in this game. And they were clinical, the Giants. Toby Green had 4, Himmelberg had 2, so their forward threat was there. They were clinical. I think they kicked 13 goals 6 to Geelong's 8 goals 17. So just pure straight goal kicking won them this game. They probably deserve to make finals, I think, because they're actually beating sides in the top 4, giving them a good shake, even though they dropped games against crapper sides. I'll give them the winners of the week this week, Jesse. I think they deserve it after the adversity they've faced this season.
To their credit, we did sort of talk about the lack of crowd as a factor, but the Giants did beat Geelong at GMHBA in 2019 as well, the year they made the grand final. So there's a bit of a history there. They're at least good at playing that ground. And I think generally speaking, their record against Geelong must be pretty good.
Yeah.
Most teams wouldn't have a great record against Geelong because of how good Geelong are, but I think the Giants generally play well against them. So well done. So we have a question from Jai Tez, who asks, are the Giants making the finals now or not?
That's how I read it, eh? Like, just frustrated. Like, are they going to make finals or not? What do you reckon? I predicted them to in my my top 8 predictions. Do you see them slipping in?
I think in my power rankings, I had them as the 7th best side in the comp, and then since that, they've beaten Geelong at GMHBA. So I think they're worthy. It all comes down to the fixture of the last 3, and as we've seen, there's about 4 unpredictable results a week at the moment. So it's hard to peg exactly where it finishes, but I certainly think they're good enough to, and they'll be really disappointed to miss out.
Real upset pandemic in the last month or so. This season just doesn't stop surprising. Like, the results are just baffling every week. It just adds to the story of the season every week. It's absolutely nuts. But Geelong anyway, they dropped this game. They've been looking red hot, and GWS have put them out. Did you see Geordie Clark's miss? They were, I think, 9 points down or something like that last quarter, real crunch time. Geordie Clark, intercept mark, 15 out, right in front, lines up, kicks it out on the full. And if that's not what Freo were looking for, I don't know what is. So you're welcome to come to Freo Geordie Clark and miss every set shot you want.
That was kind of the tale of the night for Geelong. As you said, 8 goals, 17. I think they actually ended up smashing GWS in the inside 50s. That was not the be-all and end-all. It's also about the quality of inside 50s. But when you kick 8 goals 17, there's a fair argument that you missed the opportunities you created.
So Dangerfield, Rowan and Tui went down for Geelong. 3 massive outs, and I think Dangerfield and Tui were in the first quarter as well. So, yeah, it took the wind right out of their sails, to be fair.
Gary Rowan's been doing a lot of going down this season.
The other winners of the week, Jesse, I've given to the Essendon Bombers. And we've been talking about them every week. Even when they've been losing, we've been saying, like, good performance from Essendon. And last week against Sydney, they got unlucky, just narrowly losing in a game where they played really well. This week, they show up against the Bulldogs, and they just squared up against them and said, come on then, let's have you. Our midfield versus yours. And their young midfield dominated. We say it every week. It's a constant that Merritt and Darcy Parish are going to have a sick game, and they did again. And young Draper had a massive game as well, just impact around the ground, and he won the hit-outs as well, had a goal to his name, so that's just adding to that young midfield that they have. 2-metre Peter with his best game ever at AFL level, kicked 7 goals straight, playing with a lot of confidence, and that set shot was just on point all game.
One of probably the biggest stories of this round, and it's been a round of big stories, is Peter Wright, a former high pick who probably was not languishing, but certainly not sort of breaking above mediocre. I don't want to be harsh, but to kick 7 goals against the top side, that's a massive effort.
Bulldogs maybe have some defensive cracks. But cracks.
We talked last week about Shaki, going back and playing a good game, but there's no doubt, since they decided Aaron Norton, you're a forward, the backline has been, a bit of a weakness on paper, and obviously when Peter Wright, 2-metre Peter, kicked 7 goals, they didn't have an answer for him.
Got found out, and you could almost say Chuck Norton back, Chuck Johannesson back. They've played there before, but
I was like, who's Chuck Norton? Legit.
Oh, Chucky. Maybe that would have been an option if Josh Bruce didn't do his ACL. Absolutely devastating news to see another player go down with an ACL, and in career best form as well. He's probably going to miss up to 12 months, so we probably won't see him until the final series of next season. He's been third in the Coleman. Just been really strong player for them and very reliable. And Norton hasn't really been that option. It's going to be on him and sort of Ugelhagen to lift in the finals picture. Do you think their premiership chances take a hit just on the basis of that one injury?
I think it's a bit of a hit. I don't think Josh Bruce by himself is like a really integral player, but I think
he is.
I think
for the Dogs.
Structurally, yes. It is also a massive blow. Like, any ACL is tragic, but when you're in career best form and your team is potentially playing in a grand final, probably one of the premiership favourites at the moment, to see him miss that, even if they do win it, that's tragic.
I don't see them winning it, to be honest. Out of the top 4 sides, I'd say they'd be it changes every week, though.
It does change every week.
We made predictions a month ago, and they're just redundant now.
Yeah. I don't think they've proved themselves well and truly this year. I think they've had a couple of blips against Sydney and Essendon, 2 decent sides, and their percentage is 142%, or at least it was before yesterday. So I don't know. I still think they're up there.
We've got a statement here from Zach Petosa, and he says, "Swear if Port Bradbury their way into the top 2, I'll dip my nuts in Tabasco sauce."
Kind of hope they do now.
I want to see it.
Okay, too far.
On to the losers of the week, Jesse. Mwah, 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 mwah. Are you gay? So we're talking losers of the week, and a team that's been avoiding this for a while, but have rejoined us in the losers of the week, is the Carlton Blues. I reckon they're probably one of the most losers of the week this season, Jesse, to be honest, which is pretty harsh. But they lost in the Dan Gorringe Cup against the Gold Coast Suns, who have been looking decent in parts, but at home to the Suns, you should be winning those, especially from what we saw last week from Carlton. They really had a good 4-quarter performance, and their pressure was up all game long. Gold Coast had 52 more uncontested possessions and 32 more uncontested marks. So it just shows a lack of effort from Carlton, and their fans wouldn't be happy about it. Plenty of calls for Teague's head, as there is every week, to have him sacked. I don't think it's Teague. There's something wrong with the mentality of the players, because I think only 7 players had more than 15 touches for them, and you could just list who those were. It's obviously Walsh, Cripps, Kennedy, Wiedering, the players that perform every week. But there's just so many non-contributors in that side that just don't have the mentality to get up for games like these every week, and it's quite disappointing, Jesse.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit off air before this video about how some young teams can sort of have a really good performance and the next week they just don't show up, and that could have been a case here with Carlton. But over the last few years, it has been a bit of a trend where there's a lot of passengers in that team, and that's something I really need to rectify. Teague might be in a bit of danger with someone like Alistair Clarkson who's on the market as well, so that it could come down to who's available, but Either way, I think his performance has been very dicey.
Do you think Teague's done enough to keep his job?
I think he's very borderline, but if I'm Carlton, I'd be looking at Alistair Clarkson because I don't think Teague has proven himself. Like some other coaches under pressure around the league, some of them are premiership coaches, rather. I'm thinking of my own club in that, but with Teague, he hasn't proven himself yet. So if you're Carlton and you're looking, we could have Alistair Clarkson here,
you'd take that.
That could swing the decision. But if it's not Alistair Clarkson on the market, then maybe they do persevere for one more year.
Yeah, I think they should. But for Gold Coast, another decent win for their season. I think this could be their highest ever point tally. Which is good for them. And we talk about the same players every week, but there are some guns killing it at the moment. Tuke Miller had 2 goals, 34 disposals. Has to be a lock for all Australian because he's just been so good every single week.
Yeah, Gold Coast are one of those teams, sort of like Carlton, but the media really comes from them when things go poorly for a few weeks and the narrative is around like, do they relocate? Do we follow them? But if you just look at it objectively, this is the best performances I'd imagine that Drew's had with this group in terms of how well they're playing late into a season.
Yeah.
It's been a trend where they've run out seasons really poorly. So to be snatching away wins against a side that was probably higher than them on the ladder, and in fact still are probably, that's a massive plus. And they've got so much upside. I think this is a bit of a tick for Stewie Drew's.
Yeah, for sure. After their result last week as well, it was like absolutely getting pumped to Melbourne. Like they couldn't afford to do that again.
Yeah.
I didn't realise Jacob Townsend plays for Gold Coast. He had his first game. I just completely forgot that he went to Gold Coast and he had 2 goals and had a bit of an impact as well. So those are sort of the players I think they need to target, like mature age players that have done well at other clubs that can move up there and develop that young talent, because players like him and Ellis could really build a winning culture at Gold Coast. Back to regular programming, let's go with North Melbourne versus Richmond. Now this was a game where I was 50-50 who was going to win this, and it absolutely baffles me, Jesse, that North Melbourne, the Wooden Spooners, are in contention to win against the Premiers, the Richmond Tigers. If you were told that 12 months ago, you would have been called a fool. There was a 53-point swing in this game, Jesse, so Richmond must have been given a big rev up at halftime because they did come out and they were the better team for that whole second half. One of their best on ground was Jack Graham. I didn't realise how young he was. He's only 23 years old. He had 36 touches, so he's really stepped up in the absence of Dusty. Dion Prestia back into the side as well for the last 2 weeks. He's been really solid. So Graham, Prestia, decent young midfield in there that can carry on the legacy of Trent Gotchen, if you like. Yeah,
this was a strange topsy-turvy kind of game. I flicked on it at half-time because I was working and North were, well up, and I was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, hell yeah, but we can... I was excited to see North put him to the sword, because of the Eagles being in the finals race with Richmond, but also I tipped North Melbourne. And what ensued was a very, very poor quarter from North Melbourne, but I'm not smashing them too hard for that because they're a young side and they can have ebbs and flows, but Richmond really... walked all over him and started to look like the side before this form slump.
Yeah.
What was pleasing though is that in that third term, on the rare occasion North got the ball, they would go bang, bang, bang and across the whole field and hit each player on the tit and nail a sick goal.
Yeah.
There was at least flashes of brilliance amongst, comparing it. West Coast the week before, it was just all trash. I'm in pain. So yeah, while it was a loss, there was still a lot of positives, and some of their youth is really exciting.
Yeah, that youth you were just touching on. LDU had 38 touches. Jesus Christ. Cam's 4 goals. So they're improving every week, and that young midfield as well, obviously Simpkin and Aaron Hall, again, same players we talk about just about every week, but they're just playing well, so you got to mention it.
Fantastic.
Liam Baker was one of the best on ground for Richmond as well, and he's had his haters this year. He's always been a role player in a good side, so maybe his ability's been questioned sometimes, but he looked like a very good mature age player this week, and I think he had 2 goals and something like, I don't know, 26 touches or something like that. So
straight swap for Adam Shearer?
No. Please don't go. It's showdown time, baby. Adelaide burst Port Adelaide. Adelaide's home game, and it was at a reduced capacity, which was sad. So they were leading this game, and then they had 2 concussions, so they were a man down. And in that fourth quarter, the momentum really swung. Sam Powell-Pepper got on the end of one from some high IQ footy from Rosie. I love watching him play. You can just see he's such a smart player. Like, he can see the game a step ahead. Real big fan of Rosie. And yeah, Powell-Pepper got that snap, and then Dixon kicked a goal. And it was just like, I don't think Adelaide have much to give. They sort of ran themselves flat in the second and third quarter. And then, those injuries didn't help at all. We've got a statement here from Callum Gardner, and he says, not a question, but please give Schoenberg some respect. He's been good for weeks. He's had 20 plus disposals in the last 5 weeks and 9 goals for the season. There's your recognition, buddy.
Winner of the week. No, he's a good sort of little inside mid there, playing pretty well for, I don't think his first year, I think his second year player on the list. Good player.
It's always that same point that you make, like, good sides don't play well and still win. That's what makes a champion side, but it's true. But their defence was huge. Burton, massive on that half-back line. Dan Houston has been mammoth this season. He's been huge. And obviously, earlier, best on ground and a career high in intercept mark. So their back line is really thriving. They can make it work this season, Port. They're still in that premiership hunt, I think.
This was one of the more surprising results for me this round. And not the fact that Port won, but the fact that they nearly lost. Because, we talk about how Port don't generally drop games against teams they're expected to win. And, in showdowns as well, from memory, they generally have played well over the last few years. So it was really surprising when I sort of looked at the halftime score. Like, wow, this could actually go Adelaide's way. And credit to Adelaide as well, coming off the turmoil that they've had this week, particularly, Tex Walker in the media, it's a PR nightmare. Also, probably their best player this year to miss, for the rest of the season. To nearly pinch the showdown, that's a massive result for Adelaide, kind of.
Another massive upset. St Kilda beating the Sydney Swans. Beating Sydney, who are one of the most informed sides in the comp, is a massive tick to the Swans. And it's so strange because they beat Brisbane and it was like, their season's back on track, and they lose 3 in a row and it's like, St Kilda suck. And then they beat Sydney and then the season's back on track.
Big tick energy.
This form absolutely baffles me, but to be fair, let's give them credit because they did have some good performances every week. We say these same players, and I'm saying every week that we say these same players every week now as well. But Jack Steele, another massive performance. Ron Marshall, huge. Higgins had one of his best games for St Kilda as well. 4 goals, very hungry forward, playing with some confidence.
It's funny to see the opposite side of it, where early in the year, St Kilda nearly beat the Swans down in Sydney, and Higgins, I don't think he played poorly, but remember he missed a few shots late in the game. So now he converts those goals and St Kilda win comfortably.
Yeah, good on him.
Some irony.
You were the bloke of the week. This could be a controversial opinion, Jesse. I don't think it is really, but make of it what you will. Sydney have been away for a month and a half, and they've been on a business trip, and they've been killing it, the Swans. They've been on an absolute tear, right? The week that their families come into quarantine with them, maybe they're just like, it's a sigh of relief, a breath of fresh air, get to see their families again, get to relax. And let their guard down because they're a much better side than St Kilda, and they lost this.
Bit of perspective as well, maybe. We've been playing football for 5 weeks, and now I've seen my family. This is what life's all about.
Yeah.
I can see where you're getting there, but I mean, it also isn't so inconsistent with sometimes good teams just play crap.
Yeah.
So, but I think you make a valid point.
This isn't even close to being the end of Sydney's season. They've been so good for so long, and dropping this result after the month and a half or so that they've had, they've been so good. So You predicted this game to drop in St Kilda's favour in a prediction video a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they're going to drop one eventually.
My logic was that Sydney will drop one that we won't expect. And it wasn't to disrespect Sydney. I think some people took exception to that. But it was more just like these things happen late in seasons. And, Sydney are right on the edge of that top 4 race that probably cancels them out now, along with Brisbane. It's going to be very tough.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, though, there's the variable that we could have all neutral finals this year, which means finishing top 4 isn't as valuable as it was, prior to 2020 again. So, I think Sydney's still a really good shot.
A clash of the Titans, you may say, Sunday at the MCG. Hawthorn versus Collingwood. And I'm not even going to lie and say that I watched this game, but I can tell you who played well. Tom Mitchell had a lousy 44 touches. Kuzitsky had 3 goals for Hawthorn. And they've come into good form, Hawthorn. They've won... they've got 10 points out of their last 4 games, so 2 wins, a draw, and a loss, so a positive overall record. And I think you can see that Alistair Clarkson is getting the absolute best out of this Hawthorn side over the last few weeks. They've been playing very well. Probably could have got winners of the week as well, but I haven't given it to them because they're getting rid of Clarkson, and I'm not happy about it. This was a hard game to tip. You got it right. Why did you think Hawthorn would win this game?
Yeah, I guess I was just a little bit more confident in them backing up. But again, they're a very inconsistent side this year. But I looked at... originally, this game was fixtured in Tassie. And then I just decided not to change my tip to Collingwood.
Yeah, okay.
But I looked at the way Collingwood played, and they had a very easy run against the Eagles. Let's call it what it is. They played really well. But maybe because I feel like they're a younger team, a lot more young guys on that team. The ability to back that up the next week... was always going to be probably more of a challenge. So I guess I thought, they'd come out a little bit flat, and that's exactly what happened. They came back in the second half, but, Hawthorn set up the win in the first half.
Still haven't had consecutive wins under Robert Harvey. Oh, how good. We get to talk about Freo, my favourite team. Yes.
I'm so glad the Eagles aren't in this week's DrewFooty Show because we're obviously playing tonight. It's a relief. Feels like I'm on holiday.
Brisbane just absolutely outclassed Freo, unfortunately. I got my cycle wrong, Jesse. It goes What? Yes. Freo usually have a disappointing win, then you lose faith, and then they have a good result. Then they might have a big win and then a disappointing result. And we had that big win last week. As Jesse said, young sides have a big win and can't back it up. And we just literally looked like we had ankle weights on, or we were playing with lag or something in this game, because we were just a step behind the Brisbane Lions all game long. I think Brisbane would have won every one-on-one matchup. There was no pressure around the ball from us, really. Like, every time the ball dropped, there was like 3-on-1s and the Brisbane players were winning it. And if you watch my vlog from yesterday, you'll see how easy Brisbane were moving it up the ground. They did look really good. Their kicking is phenomenal. Like, they are a very good kicking side.
In wet conditions too.
But yeah, to be honest, it was a traumatic experience. Against Geelong, it was like so wet, and it was like, all right, this is Geelong. Like, this is coming. But against Brisbane, it was just like, no, not another goal, no. 64 point hammering. So yeah, I wasn't happy about it. We looked as flat as pancakes. And not in a good way.
Brisbane looked like good pancakes. They were
lumpy ones.
I've seen a great Fremantle meme, and it's
look, Marge, I'm a Freo supporter.
No, it's not that. It's actually another Simpsons meme. It's Mo throwing out Barney out of his pub because he's too drunk, and he's Fremantle, and Barney's the Expectations, and then he's like looking out after him, and then suddenly Expectations of matches in the background.
Oh, they always just build, don't they? And we've got a question here from Brandon Lobb, and he asked, how do you think the Dockers will go next year with how they are looking right now? And again, I said it in my vlog yesterday, but we can't keep just having results like this and games like this where we're at home against a good side and just not showing up. Like I said in the vlog, that's a 2021 result, all right? We're developing now. We can't afford to just keep getting pumped by teams and just not showing up. Like, we've been so crap for so long. So as long as this doesn't continue for another year or so, like, that's all I care about. Just lessons and blessings.
I think you're seeing a good year of transition, though, where, like, your Brayshaws in particular, your Sean Darcy's are really stepping up. Now, it's a bit of a blow if Chera leaves. But, I mean, at least you're getting improvement from that next layer. Admittedly, you probably got a lot out of Mundy this year, but you haven't relied too much on Fife or Walters at all for your result, particularly Walters. So
yeah, changing off the guard.
Yeah, I think it's a changing of the guard. And I think that process continues, and I think you'll still end up with more wins than last year. So if there's incremental improvement, I think Fremantle's going.
Well, we're sort of in the top 8 hunt now. We've got West Coast this week, so we're going to do a preview that'll be out on Thursday.
Is the top 8 hunt shithouse though?
Yeah, I don't really care.
Your wins and losses aren't quite that much better than last year. I think you're a better team than last year, but I think the top 8 race is a little bit
for sure
weak this year, so it's kind of it could inflate your ladder position because you could go all the way up to 7th, or you could go to 12th, and 12th is probably harsh for what you are, but 7th is probably very generous.
Well, that whole like mold of teams in that area is probably in the same boat. So GWS and Essendon are probably the more worthy teams to make that. Look, I just want to make the 8. That'd just be nice.
You'd be the youngest team in that group, though, which is a positive. You know, West Coast have even GWS to some extent they've had injuries, but West Coast have no business being in the top 8 race. They should. They need to fucking lift.
And they play Melbourne tonight, and we are both going to that game. It's going to be good. I'm going to whip home Kados's mighty D's, but we're not going to talk about that game anyway. Make sure you check out both our vlogs of that game to see our reaction, and that's going to do it for this week, Jesse, on the DrewFooty Show. Make sure you go check out Just the Tips for next round's analysis. Rats. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thank you, my queen.
We'll see you next week. Keep your eye out for content and subscribe.